Hello friends, and welcome to my channel for another custom action figure video. I'm still riding the Batman Forever train. If you watch my channel, you know that I've recently been doing a lot of these. I customized the McFarlane Batman Forever Batmobile, did a couple videos on that. I made a custom Val Kilmer Panther suit Batman. I recently did a Mezco Tommy Lee Jones Two-Face to go with it. And today I'm going to be doing a custom Sonar suit Batman. So for the base, we're going to be using the McFarlane Sonar suit. I had to get a second one for the head because I used the head from this one to make the Panther suit Batman on a George Clooney Batman body. A couple things we're going to do. We are going to swap out the ankle pegs like I did on the Panther suit Batman because it's too tall. It's too disproportionate. It looks to me like they sculpt the figure and then they add this after the fact, and that's what makes it a little bit too tall. So I'm gonna put different pegs in there. I'm not sure which ones yet. I gotta go through my bins and see what I have, but shortening it helps the proportions out quite a bit. Now, something I didn't notice with the Panther suit custom, these have pins in them. Honestly, like I think because I just blacked the whole thing out paint wise, I didn't even really notice that there were pins. But because this one is going to be a lighter kind of gunmetal color, I am going to cover the pins with some epoxy sculpt, so we'll get into that shortly here. Beyond that is basically just going to be a repaint. I am also going to sculpt the cowl to the neck the way I did with the Panther suit so that it's one piece and it looks more accurate, because with that cut in there, it just like it changes the silhouette too much for my liking, and I want it to be that smooth, consistent look that it has. I also got a new cape for it. Now this is from DB Toys. I got this from VC Toys box. These are, I believe, made to be like Batfleck capes. And you can see they're kind of like translucent, but it's this very lightweight fabric. It's meant to be a drape cape, and it's a really nice feel and texture to it. And it's got that kind of like elephant skin leathery look to it. That, according to the Hot Toys version of this Batman, at least, is what the cape looked like. So I picked up two of these, one for my custom BVS Mezco Batman and one for this. So I'm excited to have a nice drape cape on him. And then for the paint, I'm going to be using testers. Now, this is model paint. This is a graphite metallic. And then I got this gloss dark blue that also has some metallic flake in it. I bought these at the craft store. I'll look online and see if there's an Amazon link. If so, I will put one in the description below, as well as for these. So the reason I'm using enamel paint is because it has a nice gloss finish to it. And because it's enamel, it's not going to rub and chip like acrylic would. And acrylic, you know, I use it a lot, but it tends to have kind of a matte, kind of chalky look to it, depending on the kind of paint. And it doesn't have the right luster for my liking for something like this. So that's why I chose that route. To sculpt the details, I'm going to be using epoxy sculpt. This is by Aves. It's a 2-part compound. You mix them together in equal parts and they harden after about an hour. I may take this guy apart, but I find that usually if I just move all the pieces like this, I can get under all the areas and then I don't really have to worry about taking it apart because I got full coverage. But we'll see. Yeah, I'll check back in probably with some sculpting work first, and then we'll see where I'm at. All right, Batman's all touched up with the epoxy sculpt. I got the neck filled in and contoured how I want it. I'll probably do a little bit of sanding here just to smooth out some of it. I did the pins and cut lines of the suit. But yeah, I mean, you can see just like what a different silhouette that cuts already, having that neck done. It's very similar to what I did on the Panther suit. Oh, I also sculpted these little ovals in there because those are present on the suit. You could kind of see them on the head, but they weren't on the neck part. So I went ahead and did those to try to make it more accurate. All right, so I painted this, and this is the first stage. Basically, I mixed the different testers model paints, and then I applied them to the whole body. And it's a gloss paint. The idea is that I'm going to spray it with a matte finish, and that's going to give me like the final look that I want. Because right now it's just got too much luster, and I want it to be reflective but not shiny, right? And you can see the diaper piece in the midsection there is still kind of that blue color because this softer plastic, like it's still tacky. It does not take this paint. I painted this almost a week ago now, and this is still not dry. So something about the softer plastic, it's not working. So what I'm going to try to do is essentially do a coat of primer with just regular acrylic paint, but I'm going to mix it to try to match what was actually underneath this, so this kind of blue color, because I want it to look consistent throughout. So I want the underpainting to still match the base figure so that when I paint this mixture over it, it will look the same as everywhere else that I used it. So yeah, that was a real challenge. I thought, okay, well, this stuff just dries slowly, maybe because this is a softer plastic, maybe it's not taking to it, but everywhere else is completely dry and I can handle it no problem. Touching this, I mean, this is what would happen if I touched paper against it, right? I just do that and it would come away even still with paint on it. So I'm hoping that it's dry enough that if I use an acrylic over it, it will seal it in there and it won't create an issue where it can't like bond to the plastic underneath. But I've basically been taking pieces of paper like this and wiping that paint off. I mean, you can see how much is still coming off. Aside from that, I'm super pleased with how it looks on like the rest of the body. I mean, that's what I wanted it to do. So yeah, it's the only part that's holding me up. So I'm gonna get back in there with some paint, try to finish it off, and then we'll see how it goes. Okay, I was able to get this repainted, and the acrylic paint as a primer seemed to work pretty well. I don't usually prime stuff because you usually don't need to, but in this case it really was on this particular piece of plastic. I also took a gold paint pen to the belt, and that's looking nice and clean now. And then I painted the gloves and boots. Now, a lot of people, when they repaint this figure, what they've been doing is doing the whole figure as one color. You can certainly do that, and I think that does evoke the look from the movie, but I was looking at the Hot Toys version and the Prime 1 statue version. Also, the footage from the movie, such as it is, I mean, you know, it's like studio lit on set and, you know, through filters and whatever, you can't really see it in its natural state. And with these, like I've said before, there's how it looked on screen and there's how it looked in real life. And to me, being faithful to how it looked on screen is more important because that's my relationship to it. I wasn't on set with this thing, right? So something I noticed, though, was that on the Prime 1 version and the Hot Toys version, the gloves and the boots were a different color. They were darker. To my mind, it makes sense that they look a little bit different than the suit itself because they're made from a different material, right? The suit is foam latex, and the gloves and boots are leather. So they can be painted the same way, but they're a different material, so it makes sense that they would take that paint differently. They would look a little bit different. They might not be the exact same color, you know. So that's what I aimed for. I made them very similar, and I wanted them to be shiny and reflective like the suit is, but to be a slightly different color. And I think that'll look better with the cape as well. So basically I mixed some Angelus leather paint. I took black, a little bit of this navy blue, and then a fair amount of silver to give it the right kind of sheen to it. Actually, I don't know if you probably can't see the difference here, but the center area where it's flatter is where I used more of the silver and the blue, and on the left where it's still like kind of a little puddle there, that's straight black. So you can see the difference in how reflective it is. So that's what we're dealing with on the boots and the gloves. And then I took a little bit of silver and dry brushed it here because that's what I was seeing in some of the different photos. And then I just did some general dry brushing with silver just to kind of lighten it up and make it a little bit more reflective. And I'm very pleased with the results. You can see that, you know, in this angle, they look a little bit different, but when they catch the light, they're very similar as far as how they reflect it. So that's exactly what I wanted it to do. So next up, I need to hit this with a matte coat to dull down the gloss, and so that we just have the actual like shine from the metallic qualities of the paint. And then I got to attach the cape, make the eyes and mouth look a little bit wet with some gloss varnish, and this guy will be done. Okay, the diaper saga continues. I got the suit matted out with the matte spray, and this is exactly the finish that I wanted for it. However, the diaper piece still will not dry. This is with a couple coats of the matte spray on it, and it's still just like tacky to the touch. So I'm gonna have to paint over it with acrylic. It's not the finish that I wanted, but hopefully I can get it close enough to where it won't really matter. Getting ready to add the cape, and I've hit this area with the blow dryer on the cowl to soften it up. As you can see, this has some pliability to it. The goal is going to be to stuff the cape in there. I think honestly, like, friction and gravity might hold it in place because this is such a tight little fit. Slight change of plan with the cape. I decided to actually glue it at these areas here first, and tuck it up in under the cowl, because the way it actually is going to fit best is after doing that, I take this part and essentially just glue it in place here. So I'll do a little bit of trimming still, but I had temporary thing where I just had it like this, and it even like stuck, like it's doing it now. I don't know how, but yeah. So I think that's going to be the best way to attach it, cut it and glue it in place. And then I think that is going to be the cape as I want it. So yeah, it's worked out pretty well. Wanted to include that because I had a lot of questions about attaching the cape on the Panther suit. So instead of doing it completely off camera, I wanted to show how I did this one. But you know, I'm making it up as I go. So I think a lot of times there's a hope that there's like a steadfast rule on how to do this, and really like it's kind of a little different each time. I mean, this cape is different. The way I'm doing the figure might be different. So, you know, really it's just about trial and error. Like there's really no way to be like, and then do this and then do that. You just got to give it a shot and see what works. All right, so last step here, I belatedly remembered that he had alternate hands, so I had to whip up another mix of paint to paint them, and then, you know, to match the gloves that I already did, and then I sealed them with the matte spray as well. And I remembered that because I was like, oh yeah, I was going to do his gadgets, and I wanted him to be able to hold them. I was like, well, he didn't come with hands. Oh wait, yes he did. So I got those done. Now these are cast into silver plastic, and I have painted them with some of the paint that I mixed up for the gloves, and I just did like a light dry brushing on them because I wanted to give the chrome pens I'm going to use something to adhere to. And when they're a little too close to the color of the base, you can't always tell when you're getting good coverage on stuff. So I made them darker and also gave it something to like stick to. Gonna get those chromed out here, and then I'm gonna cover them with this gloss varnish. This is what I use on eyes as well to get the eyes and mouth looking like wet and shiny. So I'm going to seal it with that because if I use a spray, generally it kind of dulls the chrome a bit, and I think that that's going to preserve the reflective nature of the chrome while providing like an extra layer of luster to make it really look chromed out. But you know, as usual, I'll find out when I officially do it. All right, here is my finished Sonar suit, custom Batman, and what a journey this thing was. It's always the ones you think are going to be the easiest turn out to be the most challenging in some ways, and this one was very challenging because of that like crotch waist area. It just did not want to take the paint, and then even with acrylic on top, it's still kind of tacky. I've learned my lesson for Robin when I repaint him, because that's going to make a big difference in how I approach it. But overall, I mean, I'm super pleased with this. I'm very happy with how the experiment worked in terms of using the enamel model paint and then hitting it with a matte finish to even it out and take away the gloss. Ultimately, I actually really liked how the gloss looked, but I think it's because it looked more like the Hot Toys version that way, and that one is very glossy. I don't think that's accurate. If you look at the movie, if you look at the suit from set pictures or like from auctions, you know, where like the actual prop is up for sale, it's not glossy. It's reflective, but it's a matte finish overall. So that's what I was going for with this, and I'm fairly pleased with the effect. I think the cape is kind of sticking to his back a little bit there. This paint just really wants everything to stick to it even when it's dry. Thankfully it's not like peeling or anything, it's just like it's just a little bit sticky, so that the cape wants to cling to it. It's more like static than it is like actual adherence. But yeah, so all in all, I got the reflective quality that I wanted. The suit is a little more charcoal and maybe a little more blue off camera. I feel like on camera it's coming across a little more like with kind of green gunmetal tones. But you know, camera lenses always pick things up differently than it looks to the naked eye. And that's always a little frustrating because, you know, I make this thing the way it looks to me, and then I put it on camera and I feel like I'm explaining why it doesn't look the way that it should. The gloss coat on the chromed out stuff worked pretty well, I have to say. The reason I did it is because if you handle this stuff, once you chrome it with the chrome pen, it just gets all your fingerprints on it and it kind of dulls the finish. This dulled it a little bit as well, the gloss coat, so it's not as chrome and shiny as it would have been if I had just left it, but then I wouldn't have been able to put them in his hands or handle it at all. All in all, I'm very happy with this, and this was mostly fun. I think the likeness on this one is better in person, and you know, I don't think it's the strongest McFarlane likeness sculpt. They do some likenesses extremely well, and I don't think that this is really one of them, but I think it definitely looks pretty good and is serviceable. And just as a reminder, here's what it looked like before. Obviously this one doesn't have the head on it. I used that for my Panther suit. It was the same head, I just added neck sculpture to it to fill it out and make it look more screen accurate. But you can see the difference between the stock and the custom job. Yeah, I mean, you can just see what a difference it makes. I kind of crudely reattached the cape because I had removed it. Yeah, I mean, what a difference, right? I never have the before version next to the after, like in person really, aside from like the 89 Batmobile I did. So this is pretty cool to see. You know, I covered the pins. They're a little bit unclean in some of the areas. Like I should have sanded it a little better because the reflective paint job kind of picks up some of the imperfections, but you know, that's if you're looking for it. I think it looks pretty good if you're just kind of observing it from, you know, a casual distance or whatever. But yeah, I really like the paint they used on this. That blue is nice. It's just not what it looked like in the movie. So it's fun to have a more accurate version. This is an interesting suit because I feel like everyone who does a version of it, like it looks a little bit different in the cowl and like the shape of it. Like the Hot Toys is a little different from the Prime 1, and which is different from this. And so, you know, you just do your best to try to get it to look how it should, and hope that it's going to work out. I'm very pleased with this cape. I don't know that this is entirely accurate to the way it looked in the film, but it looked like the Hot Toys one, and I thought, okay, well, if I can approximate that, I'll be happy. Because, you know, Hot Toys generally has access to like archives and stuff, and, you know, direct contact with people at Warner Brothers to make sure that they're getting this stuff right, and they have, you know, probably archived set photos and things like that the rest of us don't see. And so I would imagine that if they put a cape on it like this, the intent was that it kind of mimicked what he actually had on. I've really gained a lot of appreciation for this suit in the same way that I did for the Batmobile from this movie when I customized it. Next up, let's get him under the light better on the workbench and take a closer look at some of the details. All right, and here's the Sonar suit Batman custom under much better lighting. And you can see the detail on the face a lot more. And hopefully we can get, yeah, some of the glisten on his eyes and his mouth. That is the thing that really makes these things look more believable and realistic. Got his chromed out weapons. They look much more chrome under this light. It's cool to have one that, you know, I can display with accessories and then just have the Panther suit standing there by the car. I'm glad I learned my lesson with this area, because when I repaint Robin here, this is, you know, the same kind of material, probably even softer. So that's going to be acrylic instead of the enamel paint. I still want to do the enamel look on Robin for two reasons. One, because I really like the result of it, and two, I want it to match Batman here. But yeah, I mean, this has really been a fun kind of divergence for me, because like I said, you know, and if you watch my channel, you know I do mostly soft goods stuff. It's been fun to kind of take a little detour into something else for a bit. And this is also much cheaper because I just have to buy the one figure and, you know, maybe a cape and some paint, and the rest is all like time and effort and clay that I have. So, but yeah, very, very stoked on this. Very excited to have this finally wrapped up. I started this a week ago yesterday. That paint still wouldn't be dry. So, you know, eventually I had to go a different route, but finally there, and it feels good. So lastly, we'll take a look at him with all the other figures. And here's Sonar Suit Batman in the display with the other figures that I have so far. I'm currently working on the Riddler. He's like 90% done. And then Robin's head is repainted. You can see that on my Instagram. And then we have the last video I made, Two-Face in the background there. So as you can see, the display is coming together, and I'm really stoked on it. I'm excited to keep filling it out. If you haven't seen it, that is the custom Forever Batmobile that I customized to make screen accurate. And then this is my Panther suit Batman. And those two look pretty cool with each other. I have another cape for this because the cape that I used sucks. So that's going to be getting swapped out pretty soon here as well. This is just turning into a really, really fun shelf. So can't wait to make a backdrop for them. And I do want to show this in different lighting just to see how different the suit can read. So here it is in some more indirect light. And if I turn all these off, you can see what a difference it makes when he's lit differently. So that's a fun aspect to this. Being able to kind of emulate that on the shelf is a nice little thing. So that's just about going to wrap this one up. I invite you to subscribe to the channel and check out my other videos. I customized this Batmobile on the channel. I built this tumbler on the channel. I built this diorama set. A lot of cool stuff on the channel if you're into action figures and customizations and things like that. Still to come, we've got Robin getting a similar treatment to these Batman figures. We've got the Riddler coming in a very similar vein to my Two-Face right there. Yeah, you know, another big way you can help support this channel other than liking and subscribing is to watch the clip at the end of this video. It's a pre-recorded thing of me talking about my graphic novels and comics. I'm a full-time comic book writer and artist by trade, and I've got a bunch of books that are available, and I've got links to them below and a brief word about them in the video after this. So if you'd stick around for that, I greatly appreciate it. So that is going to do it for this video. I want to thank you all so much for watching. I invite you to click the like button and hit subscribe and join me as I make cool stuff. Custom figures, dioramas, vehicles to go with the figures. I review new stuff that I get on the channel. If you're looking for other ways to support this, I've got t-shirts available. My Head on Swivel shirt, as well as several other action figure and comic book themed shirts are available in my Redbubble shop. If you've never used Redbubble, it's pretty great. You pick the color, shirt, the style, and the design you want, and they ship it right to you. Now, if you're not a t-shirt person, but you like comics, I've got several comics and graphic novels available, namely my books High Crimes, Count, and Retroactive. High Crimes is kind of Breaking Bad meets Cliffhanger. Retroactive is like James Bond meets Groundhog Day, and Count is my sci-fi reimagining of the Count of Monte Cristo. Think kind of a, John Wick meets Batman meets Zorro. It's a cool story with swashbuckling action and sword fights and vehicle chases, and it's about redemption, revenge, and revolution. So those are all available at your local comic shop, bookstore, or at the links in the description below. So to everyone who's picked up a shirt already or one of my books, thank you so much. It means the absolute world to me. I really, really appreciate it. It really helps make it so that I can do this kind of stuff and bring you more videos. Couldn't ask for anything more, so thank you. So that is going to do it for this one. Until next time, keep your head on swivel.